Hello everybody, my name is Zen and you're watching GLHF episode number 24. Today we are not looking at a game. We're in fact looking at gaming news, and this news isn't just news in general, it's news that is very big and is huge news and will affect gaming in general for the future, really. Every game here to come out that's an online game, an MMO, is going to be affected by this news. So I figured I would discuss it briefly, give some clarification on some of the stuff mentioned in the new news, and some other stuff. So, as you can see on the screen, we're going to be talking about the news of Star Wars: The Old Republic going free-to-play. And it's not really going free-to-play. It's going free-to-play, but not really going free-to-play. I hate to explain it that way, and I know Garrick from the Diablo series hates it when I do that, but it's literally existing in a state of subscription and free-to-play at the same time, and let me explain that. And we're going to go into full detail of what this means for current subscribers to the game, past subscribers to the game, people who want to play the game and don't want to pay for it, people who want to play the game and want to subscribe, and just people who are interested in new stuff, right? So we'll get into all of that, but first let's explain why it is in both a constant state of free-to-play and not. They're going with the freemium model, right? Now, freemium is basically a model that Dungeons and Dragons Online does. DC Universe Online does it. In fact, a lot of the Sony games do it. I don't think PlanetSide 2 will be doing this, but they have, something kind of similar. So you can subscribe to the game still when it goes free to play. It's not out yet, but when it goes free to play, you can still subscribe to the game. You can pay $15 a month to Star Wars, and what you get is amazing stuff. Or you can just buy what you want out of the store and, play here and there, and you're restricted in a lot of areas. We don't know for sure if that's able to be purchased in the store to unrestrict those areas, or if you have to subscribe in general in order to get access to certain parts of the game, and we'll talk more about that in detail. There's a lot here, but the reason this affects everybody as a gamer is because this game is now, you gotta keep this in mind, Star Wars: The Old Republic is one of the most successful MMOs to ever come out. It sounds weird, I know it does, but in light of all the other MMOs that have come out in the past, it is actually one of the most successful ones to ever be released. It is also the most expensive game ever made, so that's something you got to keep in mind as well as we go into this. This is a really high quality game that is going to the point of free to play in a very fair way, and we'll talk more about why they're going free to play, obviously, in a minute. And there's a lot to talk about here, like I said, but they're not gonna push the MMO genre forward per se, but they are definitely leading the charge in what's coming up next. I think at the moment now, WoW will be, or World of Warcraft, whatever you want to call it, will be the only MMO out that is highly successful and has a subscription. Right? If this whole thing pays off in huge dividends with Star Wars, what's going to happen is all these other companies that are thinking about doing a subscription for the game, like the ones that are doing it right now, obviously, are the Secret World, right? They'll look at this and be like, well, if this is successful, we'll totally go with that idea. And if Activision continues to watch the numbers of WoW decline, like they have been consistently over the past couple of years, then they're going to look at this and go, how can we make a lot of money out of something like this? So this one change in Star Wars could potentially mean the change in the rest of the subscription-based MMOs. It just takes one really large elephant in the room to fall over sideways one direction on the teeter-totter to get the other ones to go in the same direction, And Star Wars is, like I said, a very successful game. So the fact that this is happening means that it may change the way all MMOs work in the future. So that's that whole thing out of the way. Now let's actually talk about the free-to-play stuff and walk through it and help people understand, because there's a lot of stuff here to understand, and I literally have dedicated my life the past 2 days to figuring this information out. This was released on Tuesday as news, quite rapidly. It came out, and nobody saw this coming, but it did come out, and it follows the EA earnings report that they do like once every quarter or something like that. Now, the thing with it is you may start thinking to yourself, well, obviously they're going free to play because they're not doing well. Well, no, actually. They're doing quite well. Like I said, it's one of the most successful ones, even though it's not as successful as WoW. And in fact, in a GameSpot article that I have here, I won't flash it on screen. You'll see other stuff on screen as we go through, but this won't be on there because it doesn't need to be. You can go look it up. GameSpot posted an article that did a couple interviews with some BioWare people, and they say that, let me find my place, Matthew Broomberg, BioWare Austin's studio general manager, said in an interview with GameSpot that the changes were made in direct response to player feedback. Right? So, right off the bat, in player feedback, this is actually, they go and elaborate this in other interviews that I've read. When you unsubscribe from a game, it usually pops up with a, hey, why are you unsubscribing? You know, let us know so we can improve the game. This is a direct response to people saying, because there's a subscription, right? So they unsubscribe, they say there's a subscription involved, that's why I have to unsubscribe. Either I can't afford it or I'm already kind of tied up in doing other games and I'd rather be free to play. So this was, like I said, a direct response to player feedback. He said in the game's subscriber base that had slightly declined. So they said specifically in the earnings report that it dropped slightly below 1 million, right? That's to be expected with, in between content releases. And he says, but the changes were in a response to broader trends in the industry. So just to unpack that a little bit, basically what BioWare is saying is this isn't because of subscriber numbers that we're doing this. This is simply because of, well, what our players want. So they're going direct player feedback on that, and the trends in the industry is just to go in these models because not only do the companies make more money, which is good for the companies, but it's more fair for us, right? We don't have to continue to pay $15 a month. We can buy what we want. We can even have a little bit more fun buying social gear, like party Jawas. We'll get to that in a second, obviously. Now that that's all the way, so it's a successful game that's going to make a huge impact going free to play, and they're not doing it because of subscriber numbers. Those two things, I know I've spent like 7 minutes talking about it, maybe 8 minutes now. Those two things really need to get out of the way before I talk about exactly how the free to play works. So here we go. Now the free to play model, as you know right now in the game, you could play actual 1 to 15 on all the story content completely free. You can even get access to some of the flashpoints and PvP and some other stuff like that. So you can play completely free right now, up to 15. They're expanding that. So their free-to-play model is now 1 to 50. You can play all the way through the game, all story content, and all characters, and experience all of the flashpoints or instances. You can experience all of the PvP that you want. To a degree, we'll touch on that. There's a bit of a limitation there, and you can experience all of that for completely free. Right? So you get all of that for free in the free-to-play experience now. So what do you actually get if you're a subscriber? Well, you get literally everything else. So if you're going to subscribe to the game as it goes free-to-play, you're going to get all of the rest of the content in the game. You're going to get all the new content updates for, well, I want to say for free, but you're going to get it with your subscription. You're also going to get a new thing they're putting in the game called cartel coins. We'll touch on that. And you get access to things like operations. You get infinite amounts of flashpoints per week that you can run. You can do infinite amounts of the war zones per week. And let's change up the screen a little bit and let's actually go to the features list. And we'll talk about that, and we'll compare and contrast what the subscribers get and what the free-to-players get. Okay, as you see here, there is a kind of a back and forth. You see subscription players and free players there, and you can see the kind of the range of what they get access to and what they don't. So we'll start at the top of the list. Story content. Both players get full access. 1 to 50 content. It's really specific under there. It says 1 to 50. My thought on this is that it's not going to include the new story content when that's released. It probably will, but they're pretty specific, and it's a toss-up in the air. So I can't really comment on that, but I would say it could be both. So you never know. You may get the new content, you may not as a free-to-player. But we do know for sure that the subscription players get complete full access, and we'll probably continue to get full access. So character creation choice next is, it says some character creation options such as species are limited to subscribers. I'm thinking also with the new content update coming out that like the Cathar, or the new species, probably be limited. I don't know if anything else will. I don't know if you'll only be able to play like a Twi'lek and a human and a Zabrak. I don't know if that's going to be your only species choices as a free-to-play person. Once again, they don't elaborate, but I would assume this is just specifically to talk about the Cathar coming out. But I wouldn't be surprised if it is limited to just a few races, which isn't bad. I mean, some of them are cool. You get to play what you want. The human's the best one to level up anyways, because you get 100 presents when you get to 50, which is a huge stat bonus for your companions. Next, war zones. Free-to-play members will have limited weekly access to war zones. It's self-explanatory. This seems like a bit of a wall for people who want to get into playing the game in a PvP manner, but really I think it's to limit the amount of rated war zones people can do. If you're gonna be competitive in rated war zones, you're gonna get a good group together, and you're gonna be doing that a lot to get better. And by limiting the free-to-play market on that, I think it's fair. If you want to be competitive with war zones, you're probably gonna have to buy that feature. I don't know if that's going to be an option, or to just subscribe to the game. So I think that's completely fair to limit that. Same with flashpoints, limited weekly access to flashpoints. I'm thinking off the top of my head, by reading that, I would assume free-to-play people will be able to get 7 flashpoints a week, because then that allows you to do your daily flashpoint every single day and get the black hole accommodations in order to get the new gear. Then there you go. That's an option for that model, I guess. I mean, that would make sense to me. Maybe Warzone's the same thing, maybe 7, probably more, I'm not sure. Space missions. Free-to-play members will have a weekly cap on space missions. This doesn't really limit people all that much, believe it or not. The space missions just kind of help bridge the gap if you're running behind on experience, but if you're doing all the content, you're not going to be behind on experience at all, so this doesn't really affect people all that much. But if you're really into the space stuff, that could be purchased, I'm sure. Next thing, this is the biggest thing, this is huge. Operations. Only subscribing members or subscription members can access operations. That is amazingly huge and awesome for us. As a subscriber, as someone who's going to continue to subscribe, as someone who runs operations every single week, 2 days a week with the same group, I would love that to continue to be a thing. To only the people who are subscribing to the game can get access to them. The reason I like that, a lot of people who play free-to-play are probably going to want to access that, but in all honesty, we pick up a pug pretty often, a random group member. We search like general chat, and we're like, if we ever are missing people, we're like, hey, we need a DPS, or hey, we need a healer. And that happens often. And I would like somebody who's invested in the game to be a part of our group, because we're serious players. And I think if you're going to be doing operations in the game anyways, you're probably a serious player enough to pay $15 a month. So I completely agree with that. I think that is good. Obviously, some people are going to have an issue with that, but that's, I mean, this is coming from a Raiders perspective. I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. I would pay $15 a month if I only got access to that even, but I have the option to do that. Some people don't. We don't know, again, if this is going to be something purchasable in the microtransaction store, because they did mention they will have one of those, like I've been saying, and we'll go over some of the stuff going to be in there later. Travel features. Subscription members have access to all travel functionality, making getting around the world easier. This is also incredibly vague, and we have no idea what this actually means, but the way that you can make a logical deduction of this is probably things like additional fleet passes to get back to the fleet, or priority access transports, which are a part of a legacy perk, where you can teleport instantly to like your main transport ship, or your main fleet vanguard vessel, I think it's called, which is basically the fleet, or to daily mission areas and PvP areas and stuff like that. I don't think those will be available to free-to-play members. And I'm not sure if quick travel will be available there as well. It does say just travel functionality, so we have no idea if that means mounts. I doubt that it does. I'm pretty sure free-to-play people will be able to get access to mounts, and that doesn't mention sprint, but once again, I think everybody will have access to that because they have mentioned that that is a balance issue if not everybody had sprint, especially in PvP. So we can pretty much deduct that it's little things like fleet access, fleet transport, and stuff like that, and teleporting across the map with a cooldown, stuff like that. And last thing, game login. Subscription members will always be in login queues ahead of free players. That is very important to note because all the servers have done like their crazy server merges. So there's a ton of people on at any given time on our server. If it's at a prime time part of the night, it is very possible that there's a queue. And if there's a queue and free-to-play members are filling up the servers as well, then people who are paying $15 a month get priority access, they get into the game, and that ties in with the operations thing. It's probably because they're getting on at prime time to raid an operation, and they don't want to wait in line behind a ton of free-to-play people. That is completely fair as well. If you're not paying anything for the game, you could expect to wait in a line for maybe a couple minutes. I think that's completely fair. Galactic Trade Network. This is interesting. Subscription members can post up to 50 auctions for sale. And that's already in the game, and it is a bit limiting to the people who really like to auction things off, but it says limited access. In fact, they changed this. It used to say extremely limited access, but they did change that. They did clarify it. I'm thinking maybe 5 to 10 postings up on the auction house. And when it said extremely limited access before, I almost would gather from that it was just purchase stuff and not selling. But now that they've just said limited access and I fixed that, it looks like that will be just probably 5 to 10 postings up for sale. Obviously, free-to-play is free, and subscription is $14.99. So what exactly do you get with your subscription? Well, let's go back to this page and talk about the cartel coins. So coming up in the next content update, we're getting Operation Terror from Beyond. It's a new operation, has to deal with the Dreadmasters, continuation of the already continued storyline between all of the operations going on, which is really sweet. I like that they've linked them all together. So that's coming out. Then you have the new Warzone, you have the new space combat missions, awesome. You have the HK-51 assassin droid, new companion for all the people. And then this is the other thing. So subscription players earn cartel coins. What are cartel coins? Well, they're basically a new in-game currency that allow you to purchase things in a shop, right? So every month you get cartel coins. So I would say, looking at the chart down at the bottom, it looks like you get 200 cartel coins. That's subject to change per month for every month that you're subscribing to the game. Now, all the people who are like, but I've been subscribing to the game since December when it came out, and you're like, oh, well, that's cool, because then you also get 150 cartel coins for each month prior to July 31st that you were subscribed. So we're going to have a lot of cartel coins. What can cartel coins buy, you ask? Well, they could buy things like a Kowonki and a monkey lizard pet, a Sith meditation throne, or things like the lost helm of Darth Nihilus. Now, I'm assuming that shop is going to be a lot of social items, a lot of customizable gear, stuff like that. And also, if you're a subscriber right now, you can vote for a free reward to all of us, and you can see them clearly there. So you have the Rancor Hollow replica, the Carbonite Hibernation capsule, and the Party Jawa that you can all vote for if you're a current subscriber to the game, and you get that for free when this launches. So, other rewards as far as subscribers go at the moment. If you purchase the Collector's Edition, you get 1,000 cartel coins additional, which is really nice. I unfortunately did not get the Collector's Edition. I have a Digital Deluxe. And there is quite the debate going on the forums right now, which I don't suggest you ever read because they are terrible and it's a giant cesspool of really awful opinions. But not that I'm saying that I have good opinions either, but it's bad. Just don't go there. But they're trying to get access to like 500 extra cartel coins for Digital Deluxe, and I agree with that. I think that's cool. Heroes banner purchased with the collector's edition. Don't know what that is. We actually have no idea what that is. Let's see here. Fan choice in-game item. So that's what the voting thing was for. 200 cartel coins from each month after August 1st, 2012 from the free-to-play option launch. And 250 cartel coins to all active players at the launch of the free-to-play option. So both new players and old players get that. So that's good. I think these cartel coins could be interesting. It's going to provide an in-game shop. It seems interesting right now with just the social items. I'm sure they can expand upon this quite a lot. Now the thing here is, it says the free-to-play option. Play the game for free to level 50 with some restrictions coming this fall. They don't... This is where it gets interesting. They don't actually mention an in-game microtransaction shop. They mention the cartel coins. They don't mention if you can buy cartel coins, whether, you know, it's just with a couple dollars, or if it's only with the subscription stuff. So this is... There's a lot to unpack here, and it is kind of confusing. So if you guys have any questions at the end of this video, please post them in the comments. I'll answer them as best as I can. So I've been committing my life to figuring out what this all means. And I mean, at the end of the day, it looks like it's going to be really good as far as the stuff goes that you can buy with the cartel coins. It looks really balanced. You're not buying power, you're buying all these really cool items instead. Like the Sith meditation throne is going to be hilarious. I already have an idea of what I can do to make that really funny to use. And they even have a full free-to-play FAQ, and you can pretty much go and talk to them live and figure out that as well on the forums. But like I said, I wouldn't suggest that. So what does free-to-play actually mean for Star Wars, in my opinion? I think it's a really good thing. I have been saying for the longest time that it shouldn't go full free-to-play. It shouldn't be like, what's a good example? I can't come up with one off the top of my head, a game that's recently gone free-to-play. But I was always saying that it should never have just a free-to-play option. Like League of Legends, where you log in, you get to play, and then you buy skins and stuff like that. Like I don't think that fits Star Wars at all. And the fact that they're adding this additional way to play with the subscription is really cool, because I've been saying from the very get-go, since people started talking about free-to-play with this, that I would love to continue to pay $15 a month and just get all the content. Just give me all of the content, give me your whatever, you know, stipend of cartel coins, sweet, whatever you want. I don't care. I just want to have the game content in front of me and available to me, because at the end of the day, I have a ton of other free-to-play games I play, and that kind of stuff, all the little microtransactions, adds up after a while. So I'd rather just have all the content on the main game that I play available to me. Just give it all to me with $15 a month. Allow me to go do my operations, my raids once a week, and have a lot of fun with my buddies doing that. And that's cool. Now, you may think to yourself, what does this mean for OSW? Because that's kind of what we're based on, is Star Wars, and all of our members are usually playing Star Wars. We call ourselves Gamers Without Borders, so we play other games, basically is all that means. But it's pretty easy to assume that this might be bad for us, but it won't be. Any of you guys who really want to join up and play when it goes free to play, you guys can now completely come into our guild and have a lot of fun with us, and even join us in some events. Obviously, if you're not subscribing, you can't do operations with us, but we do flashpoints and stuff, so it would be really sweet to get a few more people to be able to hang out with and talk to, and you guys can ask plenty of questions. We're all friendly people. We don't bite much often. But the free-to-play thing is not only good for the game, it's good for the guild. It's good for the channel, because it'll bring a lot more people who are interested in the game. At the end of the day, this is brilliant. This is one of the most brilliant free-to-play options I've ever seen, because if you think about it, really think about it, just the story content in Star Wars is good enough to pay $60 for it. Just straight up, just give me the game, give me $60, I'll play all the way through the content in like a week, and it's really good. It's really good stuff. And now you get this game for completely free. The reason it's brilliant is because you're going to be playing this AAA game with some of the best voice acting you've ever heard in your life. And the thing is, all these players who are doing this, who are like, oh sweet, I'm getting this game for free and I don't have to pay anything, they're going to get to the end of their dang story and they're going to be so hooked in the story that they're going to want to continue going, and they're going to look at that cash shop if there is one, if there is a microtransaction shop, and they're going to want to buy a ton of stuff because it is that kind of game. It's going to get you hooked. It's going to get you wanting to play. It's one of those really sly and brilliant maneuvers from EA and BioWare in a way that is not invasive to the player. It is really fair to the player. It is really good, and it's going to make the rest of the MMOs to ever come out, or ones that already exist, even better, because they're going to look at this really fair model and they're going to go like, I like that. We could do that. But like I said, they haven't mentioned whether or not there is going to be an in-game shop to purchase things through microtransactions. They haven't mentioned that. Once again, this brings me back to the beginning. It is both in a constant state of being in free-to-play and being a subscription game. Because if there is no microtransaction shop, then they're just trying to get people to subscribe to the game. Which is fine, because you get a lot of stuff when you subscribe to the game. If there is a microtransaction shop, then there's still a subscription fee to be paid if you want to access a ton of stuff. And you get your money's worth. You're getting a lot of stuff for this subscription. I can say fairly safely that I'm typically the kind of person who is very wary of subscriptions. I didn't really like it with World of Warcraft because I didn't feel like I was getting what I was paying for, especially because they have such long droughts between content. Whereas Star Wars, every couple months you're getting new operations, you're getting new flashpoints, you're getting new war zones, new everything, and it's amazing. And with all this new stuff that's about to come out in this fall, with the operation, the new story content, and new planets, the new everything, it's totally worth it. So if you've been thinking about playing Star Wars, if you've been thinking about buying the game and doing it, just wait for it to go free to play, because it's going to be amazing, and you guys can come join us and play. And now that I've rambled on for way too long about this, but there is a lot of stuff to be said here, and I'm sorry I didn't get an actual look at a game, and you pretty much are looking at static images this entire time. I just wanted to say that if you have any questions, again, ask them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Go look at the free-to-play FAQ. You'll find a lot of information there. And what else do we have? As far as news goes, finish the smuggler stuff that I've been doing 1 to 50. We're about to start the Jedi Knight stuff, not this weekend, but next weekend. So check that out if you're interested in the game, especially with free-to-play coming up. It'll really get you hyped up to watch the Jedi Knight stuff. Unless you're planning on playing a Jedi Knight, then don't get spoilers, because it's really good. But on that note, I think I'm finally done rambling about free-to-play and about how this is actually a really good thing for Star Wars. Don't see this as a bad thing, because this is a really good thing for you and me. For me as a person who's paying for the game and will continue to pay for the game, and for you who are gonna play the game for free and get a really awesome experience out of it. So finally I'm done. So on that note, I guess we'll see you guys next time.